Hello, ladies. Some people enter our lives quietly without warning and yet somehow change everything. They don't arrive with a grand announcement or a dramatic entrance. They simply appear, and before you even realize it, they've woven themselves into your days, your thoughts, and your heart. They have a way of making the ordinary feel extraordinary, of turning simple moments into memories that will live in you long after they're gone. And sometimes, without even trying, they become a mirror that reflects back to you lessons you didn't know you needed to learn. The memory of you is one of those rare gifts, not because it stayed, but because of what it left behind. And among all the truths it revealed to me, the first was this: there are moments in life that carve themselves into the soul, moments that do not fade with time, no matter how far you walk or how much you grow. The memory of you is not just a shadow of the past. It is a mirror in which I see the lessons I carry forward. Every heartbeat since has been shaped by what was learned, what was lost, and what was found within myself. There is a kind of strength that cannot be measured in words or actions, a strength found simply in being there. Your presence had a weight, not in heaviness, but in meaning. It was the way the air felt different when you entered a room. It was the way the noise of the world seemed to quiet when you were near. I learned that presence is not about the grand gestures people often chase. It's not about saying the perfect thing or crafting the perfect moment. Sometimes it's just sitting in the same silence, knowing you are not alone. It is the reassurance that even in the chaos of life, there is one constant, one anchor, one heartbeat beside yours. Through you, I discovered that the human soul craves connection more than it craves answers. When the storms of life rage, the comfort of another's nearness can be more healing than any advice. Presence says, "We see you. I hear you. I am with you." And sometimes that is all we need to keep going. That silence is often misunderstood. People fear it, rush to fill it, or mistake it for emptiness. But I learned through you that silence can hold more meaning than 1,000 words. In those unspoken moments, truths lived quietly between us. Truths that didn't need to be declared to be real. It was in the pauses, not the speeches, that I saw your soul most clearly. The quiet glance across a room, the gentle stillness when neither of us had anything to prove. These were the moments that taught me how to listen, not just with my ears, but with my heart. Silence was not the absence of connection. It was its purest form. It asked for no performance, no pretending, pretending. It was honesty without the noise. In that stillness, I began to understand that love, respect, and understanding do not always scream. Sometimes they whisper. And if you are still enough, you can hear them. Every choice carries a weight. Sometimes a feather, sometimes a stone. Some choices feel light when we make them, only to grow heavier with time. Others feel unbearable in the moment, but later prove to be the very ones that saved us. Through you, I came to understand that the paths we take are not simply the result of chance, but the reflection of who we are at the moment of choosing. I learned that even the smallest decision, a word spoken, a step taken, a door closed, can change the entire direction of a life. We rarely see the consequences immediately. They unfold slowly, like shadows stretching at sunset, revealing what we could not see at first. There is a quiet responsibility in choice. Once made, it cannot be unmade. It leaves its mark not only on the life we live, but on the lives we touch. Through your lessons, I realized that choosing is not just about what we want. It's about what we are willing to live with when the echo of that choice comes back to us years later. Time is the most precious thing we will ever hold. Yet it slips through our fingers faster than we realize. Through you, I learned how fragile it truly is. How moments that feel endless in the present can turn into distant memories in what feels like a heartbeat. We always think there will be more time. More time to speak, to listen, to laugh, to forgive. But time does not promise us anything. It moves with or without our permission, taking with it the chances we thought we would always have. I came to understand that nothing is guaranteed, not the next conversation, not the next sunrise, not the next embrace. It's strange how the smallest moments, the ones we hardly noticed, become the ones we ache for most. A glance, a shared joke, a quiet walk. They seemed so ordinary then. Now they are treasures locked in memory, irreplaceable and untouched by anything but longing. You showed me that time demands we be present, truly present, because one day the clock will run out and all we will have left are the echoes of what once was. We live in a world that teaches us to wear armor, to hide our fears, to bury our pain, to mask our hearts behind walls so high that no one can climb them. But through you I learned that there is a strength far greater than the hardness we pretend to carry. That strength is vulnerability. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the raw courage to be seen exactly as you are, unpolished, uncertain, and imperfect. It is allowing someone to see the cracks in your armor and trusting they will not use them to wound you. It is showing the parts of yourself you fear might be too much or not enough, and still choosing to reveal them anyway. I realize that vulnerability is an act of trust, not only in another person but in yourself. Trust that even if you are rejected, even if you are misunderstood, you will survive it. Through your presence in my life, I learned that opening the heart is not about guaranteeing it will never break. It is about living fully, without hiding from the risk that love always brings. It takes far more courage to admit you are afraid than to pretend you are fearless. And sometimes, the greatest bravery is letting the tears fall, letting the voice tremble, and still speaking your truth. Listening is often confused with hearing, but they are not the same. Hearing is passive, it happens without effort. Listening, though, is a choice. It demands attention, presence, and the willingness to set aside your own thoughts long enough to truly understand someone else's. Through you, I learned that listening is not just about waiting for your turn to speak. It is about creating space for another soul to be heard without interruption, without judgment, without the need to fix or explain. In those moments, listening becomes an act of love, a way of saying, "You matter enough for me to give you all of my attention." Sometimes it was in your pauses, your hesitations, or even the way you avoided certain words that I heard the most. I realized that what is left unsaid can carry just as much weight as the words that are spoken. Listening taught me to hear the emotions behind the sentences, the fears hidden in laughter, and the longing tucked inside the quiet. True listening is rare because it requires humility. It asks us to put our ego aside and enter someone else's world, even if only for a moment. And when done sincerely, it becomes a gift, not just to the one speaking, but to the one listening, because it changes the way you see people and the way you love them. Distance is not always measured in miles. Sometimes it is the space between two hearts that once beat in rhythm, but now feel out of sync. I learned through you that distance can exist even when someone is standing close enough to touch. It is the silence in the middle of a sentence, the glance that avoids meeting yours, the unspoken words that begin to pile up like walls. Physical distance is hard, but emotional distance cuts deeper. It is knowing that you can no longer reach the places in someone's soul where you once belonged. It is the ache of watching a connection fade, not because it was meaningless, but because time, circumstance, or unspoken pain pulled it apart. I came to understand that distance does not always mean the absence of care. Sometimes it is chosen as a form of protection, a way to shield oneself from the wounds that closeness can bring. And yet, that protection comes at a cost. It robs you of the warmth you once knew, leaving behind a cold space where love used to live. The pain of distance is not only about what is lost in the present, it is about the memories it wakes up. It reminds you of what once was, the nearness, the laughter, the ease, and it makes the absence all the more unbearable. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are the lines that protect what is sacred within us. I learned through you that without them, love can lose itself. Swallowed up by the weight of expectation, sacrifice, and unspoken resentment. Boundaries are not about selfishness. They are about self-respect. There was a time I believed that giving everything was the purest form of love. I thought that to bend until I broke was a sign of devotion. But you taught me that love without boundaries is like a river without banks. It may feel boundless, but without structure, it will flood and destroy what it was meant to nourish. Setting boundaries is not about pushing people away. It's about ensuring the connection can survive. It is saying, this is where I can meet you without losing myself. It's protecting your energy so you can give from a place of fullness rather than depletion. Through this lesson, I realized that boundaries are not the end of intimacy. They are the foundation of it. When you know where you stand and what you need, you can love without resentment, give without fear, and stay without losing the person you are. We are taught from an early age to chase perfection, to smooth out every flaw, to hide every crack, to present only the parts of ourselves we think are worthy of being seen. But through you, I learned that imperfection is not something to be erased. It is something to be honored. It is in the uneven edges, the scars, the awkward pauses, and the mismatched pieces that the real beauty of a person lives. Perfection is polished but distant. Imperfection is raw, and it invites connection. When someone shows you their unfiltered self, they are offering you something rare, authenticity. I came to see that the things we often wish to hide are the very things that make us human. The small mistakes, the vulnerabilities, the quirks, these are not blemishes. They are fingerprints of our unique existence. They tell the story of where we've been, what we've survived, and how we've grown. Your lesson showed me that to love someone is to love them in their entirety, not despite their flaws, but because of them. And it reminded me that my own imperfections are not proof of my inadequacy, but proof that I am real, living, and still becoming. Forgiveness is often spoken of as if it is a single act, a moment where you simply decide to let go. But through you, I learned that forgiveness is far deeper, far more layered than I ever imagined. It is not just about saying the words, "I forgive you." It is about truly releasing the grip that pain has on your heart. Sometimes forgiveness is for the other person, but more often it is for yourself. It is choosing not to carry the weight of bitterness any longer, not because what happened was acceptable, but because holding on to it is slowly poisoning you. Forgiveness does not erase the past. It changes the way it lives inside you. There is courage in forgiving someone who has hurt you, but there is an even greater courage in forgiving yourself. We are often harsher on our own hearts than we are on anyone else's. We replay our mistakes, torment ourselves with what-ifs, and punish ourselves for not knowing then what we know now. Through your lesson, I came to understand that forgiveness is not weakness, nor is it surrender. It is an act of reclaiming your peace. It is saying, this will not own me anymore. It is the quiet decision to let the wound become a scar, a reminder of the pain, yes, but also of the healing that followed. We often believe that holding on is a sign of loyalty, that it proves our love, our strength, our commitment. But through you, I learned that sometimes holding on is not a sign of strength at all. Sometimes it is a quiet form of self-destruction. There is a cost to carrying something long after its season has ended. It weighs on you in ways you don't notice at first. The sleepless nights, the heaviness in your chest, the way joy becomes harder to reach. We tell ourselves that letting go means losing, but the truth is, refusing to let go can mean losing ourselves. Holding on can turn love into obligation, hope into denial, and dreams into chains. It can keep us standing in a place where growth is impossible, simply because we are afraid of the emptiness that might come if we release it. But what I came to understand is that the emptiness we fear is often the space where healing finally begins. Through your lesson, I saw that letting go is not the same as forgetting, and it is not a betrayal of what was. It is an act of mercy for ourselves and for the memory we are trying to protect. Because some things are meant to be carried only for a time, and when that time has passed, the greatest gift we can give is the freedom to set them down. There are moments in life when someone enters your world and, without meaning to, holds up a mirror you didn't know you needed. Through you, I began to see myself in ways I had never looked before. Some of those reflections were difficult to face. Others were beautiful surprises, but all of them were necessary. Self-discovery is rarely gentle. It pulls apart the illusions you've built, strips away the masks you didn't realize you were wearing, and forces you to confront truths you might have been avoiding for years. And yet, within that discomfort lies a gift. The chance to meet the version of yourself that has been waiting quietly beneath the surface. Through our moments, I learned what I could endure, what I truly valued, and what I was no longer willing to accept. I found hidden strengths I didn't know I possessed and recognized weaknesses I could no longer ignore. You taught me without even trying that knowing yourself is the foundation for every relationship you will ever have, including the one you have with your own soul. Self-discovery is not a destination. It is a journey, one that begins the moment you allow yourself to be seen, challenged, and changed. And though the process can be painful, it leaves you with something no one can take away: the unshakable knowledge of who you really are. Some people leave behind objects, photographs, or letters. But what you left me was far more lasting, a legacy of lessons that continues to shape the way I think, feel, and live. These lessons are not written in ink. They are etched into the choices I make, the way I treat others, and the standards I now hold for myself. I realize that a lesson is not just a memory, it is a living thing. It follows you into every new chapter, quietly guiding your steps, reminding you of what you once didn't know, and warning you not to repeat the same mistakes. Your lessons have become part of the language my heart speaks, influencing how I love, how I listen, and how I forgive. Some of those lessons were gentle, wrapped in kindness and encouragement. Others were sharp, learned it in the hard way only life can teach, through mistakes, misunderstandings, and moments of loss. But even the painful ones became valuable, because they shaped my resilience and gave me wisdom I could not have earned any other way. The legacy of lessons is a gift that does not fade. It grows with me, evolves with me, and becomes a compass I can turn to when I am unsure of my path. And perhaps the greatest truth is this: while the moments may belong to the past, the lessons are forever mine to carry. Every ending is, in its own way, a beginning. Through you, I came to understand that the road ahead is shaped not only by where I want to go, but by where I have already been. The journey forward is not about erasing the past, but about carrying its lessons like a lantern, not to weigh me down, but to light the way. There is a strange mixture of fear and hope that comes with moving on. What? Fear, because the future is unknown and comfort is often found in what is familiar, even if it no longer fits. Hope, because every step forward is a step toward growth, toward new experiences, toward becoming the person those lessons have been shaping all along. The journey ahead will not be perfect. and it will not be without its own share of storms. But I have learned to face it differently now. I walk into it with a deeper understanding of myself, a clearer sense of my boundaries, and a heart that knows how to cherish the present while preparing for change. Through what I have learned from you, I see that the road forward is not a straight line. It will twist, rise, and fall. There will be moments of stillness and moments of rapid change. Yet every turn, every pause, and every mile will be part of the story I am still writing. The memory of you will always be a part of me, not as a chain that holds me back, but as a thread woven into the fabric of who I am. Into the fabric of who I am. Every lesson, every moment, every truth you left behind has shaped the way I see the world and the way I see myself. I carry these lessons forward not to live in the past, but to honor it. And as I take each step into the unknown, I do so with gratitude. Gratitude for what it taught me, and for the strength it gave me to face what comes next. Because in the end, the greatest gift you gave me was not the memory itself, but the person I became because of it.